Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of where I transform things. I'm still working out a time. Anyway, we are back in my transform world where we are just next to our wonderful little pillager outpost, which we did in the last one. If you want to see it, just check it out. Links will be in the description and also in one of those flashy cards on screen. No. that might not happen, I don't know. Now, what have we got planned for today? I still want to go and transform everything in this world that I can get my hands on. But I think today we've got one thing in mind. I want it to be impressive, I want it to be spectacular. I think you're gonna like it. That's right, it is this. The broken nether portal that you see behind me. This is what I'm wanting to transform. And there is a reason behind me wanting to do this one next, and that's because A, I love transforming portals, and B, I actually want this to be an active portal. Now, what have we got planned to turn this into something which is a little bit more inspiring, a little less weird? I've never been a massive fan of all of this which trails out of it. I just think it just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't really fill me with much want to venture into here. And of course, the good place to start off with is a palette. Now, I've just taken the time to put everything in place just before we actually started to record the video. So we have here all of the different types of nether bricks, and then across here, all of the different types of black stone as well. We've also got respawn anchors, we've got crying obsidian, normal obsidian, some glass, and then of course, as we move over into this section, we have the two types of trees, so the crimson and the warped as well. And I kind of want to incorporate everything that you see here. I know it's going to sound like it's going to be a really busy palette. I mean, we've got so many different colours, so many varieties of textures, that how can you really make this all fit into one build, especially when it's so small behind us? It's not going to be small. Nope, we are going to be turning this into quite a big build, to be honest with you. It's not going to be huge, it's not going to be massive, it's not going to be over the top, but it's going to be a damn sight lot bigger than what this is, that's for sure. And hopefully it's going to inspire you whenever you make your nether portal. So, I think the first thing that we need to do is get right into it. I have made a little building sketch, which I'm not going to show you because my drawing is terrible, but I am going to explain it just a little bit here before we get started. There is going to be a pyramid structure which holds this on top. So effectively, it's going to be made out of the black stone materials. You can't get blackstone fences, so I'm having to use deep slate, which, you know, it just is what it is. But effectively, the pyramid structure is going to be made out of this section here. Then we've got the portal, which is going to be made out of all of this stuff here. Say all of this, it's literally like 4 blocks. We have a platform, which is going to be at the portal area. It's going to be made out of these. And then finally, we're going to have trees, 2 trees to be precise, one at either side. And it's going to be made out of the red and the blue. And so effectively this is going to pyramid up to the top, portal, and then a platform around it, which is basically going to have trees at either side. You're going to see it from a distance, and also it's going to be quite inviting as well for people. This is so unimaginative, so uninspiring. I mean, I will say this though, the rune portals do look better than most generated structures because they have quite a specific aesthetic. They've looked more in terms of making things like these gaps here, for example, which just looks really cool, like the bars have melted away. So they've tried something, but I just think it could do with being just that little bit extra, because why would it not be extra? Now, the first thing that we have got to do is clear this entire thing away. I am going to be rebuilding this entire thing from complete scratch, which means none of this netherrack, none of these little lava blocks, nothing. It's all got to go. So give me just a few seconds, we'll clear this whole thing out, and let's start from zero. Land clear. We've got rid of everything that was in this section now, and we've just sort of leveled it out, made everything grassland again, as you can see. And we've just kind of taken it down one layer and brought this bit back as well. So we've sort of shortened this area that was coming out as well. The reason for this is because we are going to be building a pyramid, but it needs to be a relatively large pyramid as it stands. Not 100% sure just how high it needs to be, but I do want this to take shape in the form of being outlandish, something that you would see from, I don't know, say for instance that village over there. The way that I would go about this is to make something simple. I mean, you guys know me. The first thing that I do is I make an outline just using ordinary bricks. Whichever brick it is that I'm going to be using, for the most part, just tends to be the one that I use. Then I go in afterwards and I detail it with all of these other bricks that we've got lined up here. So I think the first things first is we have to place the block. So let's go here. I think that should be enough, so 1, 2. So this is a 10 by 10, which isn't really that much, considering that as you break up the levels here, I don't think this is going to give me the height that I want, to be honest with you. I think it's just going to be too short. Yeah, this is definitely not the height level that I was going for. I think what we need to do is make this taller. Okay, let's try this again. This is a 19 by 19 square, and actually, for what I want to include as well on either side, this kind of works out. Yeah, I think this one will be more than enough. So what I want to do now is to build this up and turn this into a pyramid. Now, there are multiple ways that you can do this. So you can round off edges. For example, I mean, I say round off, but you can knock this central bit out here, or you can leave it in. It's up to you, because when you add something, let me just grab the stairs. When you add something like stairs into this, you are effectively turning it into more of a dip side here. So if you were to, you can round off these corner bits like so. And so when you're creating the actual pyramid all the way up, because effectively this is going to be something that people are going to be stepping up onto, you can create a more dynamic sort of edge. Rather than it just being, if you was to take this out, for example, and put this in here, and then do that, that's a little bit flat, it's a little bit square, whereas taking it out actually creates far more of a look about it. You see, you basically have this corner bit. I know it's just going to seem like just a corner bit, but kind of like how we did with the pillager tower, you want to add dynamic shape, because otherwise it's just going to look the same as everybody else's. Anyone can make a square, but can you make something that's quite unique? Give it a go. Okay, we have basically started the outline work from this, and now we've basically got this shape which is beginning to evolve up here. Once we detail it, once we get everything all built up, we can see just how high this is actually going to be, and then we can go from there. But I am thinking that in order to get you to the next level, which is going to be starting out the portal on top, we're going to have to time-lapse this section. I didn't do it in the previous episode, I completely forgot, to be honest with you. I just cut from section to section. But I'm thinking we time-lapse this. I can't wait, it's going to be good. I'll bring you back once it's done. Enjoy the time-lapse. Okay, first part's done. This is the pyramid. I've added a little bit of an entranceway into it here. I'm not sure if I like it or not. This may change, but for what it is at the moment, it kind of works. You can hear the crackling? I don't know. I'm thinking about it. That might disappear. I've also added some gold blocks and some trapdoors as well, just as a hint of the colours that are going to be on either side of this. and we've worked in some of the lamps and also some of the gilded blackstone as well. But from this point forward, we now need to create something which is going to span a platform ridge just around the side of it. So starting from this top point here, I'm thinking that we're going to go... I think I want it to be the size of the pyramid and span all the way around. Maybe. Let's get some bricks and let's figure this out. What we're effectively going to be having here is 2 central platforms which are going to run from the central part of this pyramid. So if we look from these 2 bricks here and then we run it down from the center, they are basically going to be heat. This is where the central part of each pillar is. Something that looks a little bit like that. Now, I understand that this looks so ugly because there is absolutely no shape to it, no design, no style. It doesn't even connect up into this bit here, so it just kind of looks like 2 buildings. What I want to do is to create a platform which extends outwards, and so bring it further out and away. And I'm kind of wanting to turn this into more of a circular edge platform. So you effectively have an oval shape which runs down the central part here, and then have 2 cone style pillars which run down into the central beam here. So we would effectively be doing something that was a little bit more like this, and just trying to make it run down, but circularing it about because it's going to run down to this point. So we need to work something out in terms of how to get this into a circular platform shape. Because what I don't want is for this to envelop the entirety that is this pyramid. But I also want it to stand out just a little bit. So I'm thinking that from where the pillars actually end, which is here, we need to make this even on both sides. So I'm thinking that if we go out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 enough? I think 6 is enough. And then what we can do is we can basically extend it out from the other sides. So if we go here, so now we just have to make this even on both sides. So 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. And then what we're effectively going to do is make this into a half circle. Can you see what I mean? So what we're effectively doing is we're not enveloping the entirety of the pyramid, but we are creating this sort of circular effect. Do I think this is wide enough? I'm not 100% sure actually. This is going to raise up ever so slightly. So we're going to effectively have this, which is going to circle round, is going to anchor down, and then it's also going to raise up ever so slightly, and the platform's going to be on top of that. Let's just fill this bit in and just see how it looks. So now the question remains, do I want this to dip inwards so that then it's a little bit less of an oval and more like an hourglass style? I think I do, to be honest. I'm thinking that we go like that, actually. This is a little bit too flat and it's just going to look weird. But this does make it look a little bit more like this depth to it, and it adds this sort of pillar-like structure at either side. Okay, I think we're just going to knock these 2 central beams out, and then we're just going to shape it up, or at least just get the whole thing filled in, and then we can start shaping it up. Give me just a moment. There we go. So it's filled in. It has got its pillars in place. And I quite like this actually. Yeah, I think that this works out really well because you effectively now have 2 platforms, one on this side, one on that side, and then the central platform, which is just here. What I am going to do is I'm going to sort of flatten this section in here just a bit so that I can effectively make a stairwell which is going to lead into this top section here. So you would effectively be running in through here. Let me just bring that in and just see how it looks. Yeah, so like so. I think that that would probably be the best way, there we go, of making this. So you would basically be running up these sections just here until you got to this bit. And I think that the actual Nether portal itself is probably just going to go and stretch from this section here through to this section here. It's not going to be necessarily a massive portal, which may seem a bit unusual because of how big these 2 sections are going to be here. But I don't know. We've not finished this bit yet. We're still thinking about it. There is time for me to change my mind. Maybe I'll go crazy and I'll make this huge giant net portal. But you know, let's see where the creative juices take us, shall we? What I now have to do is basically cone this here. So we have to start effectively from the outside and we have to work our way into the center. When you're trying to make something slanted, our natural instinct is to basically leave one block gaps until you eventually get to there. Do you see what I mean? So you're effectively creating this slope which leads all the way down. You can even go one step further and you can notch out all of this section here and leave it until it's just one singular pillar. What this does is it creates a sort of leveling platform to it, and you can effectively do this throughout the entirety of what your build is. So say for example you're wanting to span this all the way around here. Well, you can just basically go out to where your platform is, like so. If you're wanting to, you can even notch these bits out and you can use stairs to give you an even shorter leveling platform. It's up to you. Then you're just going to go under, like so. So do you see what I mean? It's going to eventually span all the way around this side and then it's going to start digging down here. If you introduce stairs into this, so if you're wanting to potentially make this a little bit more, natural, I guess, in its actual slant, you can remove these sections here and add bricks. And what this will do is just help you get those rounded edges. So as you can see here, it just sort of smooths round in its incline and it creates a little bit more of a seamless gap to it. I think it looks better when it sort of slants around like this. I just think it gives it a little bit more control. It just makes it feel a little bit more like how it's supposed to in terms of it being, you know, not so squared off. Because whenever you're trying to make something which is round in Minecraft, you're gonna struggle because everything is just blocks. So this just kind of adds that little extra touch to it. Now we have created this bottom bit, or at least now we have got our ideas for the bottom bit, we need to work on the top bit. And the top bit can be the same again. So you can just level this off with stairs as so. And then you can basically create a ridge which is going to extend upwards. It depends on how high you want to go. So if you're wanting to go just a few spaces up, you can do. That's already much more smoother than what it was before, rather than it just being a brick line. But if you want to, you can just go up another level here, and you can sort of bring it up just to sort of round it up, round it across, and then create a shorter platform on top. This is just going to make it feel like it's more of a statement, so that then you can see where we're going with this. You bring this section in here, you bring this section up, and then slant it downwards as you get into the center. You have a giant circular platform in the middle, and then two trees that go up on either side. So you can see that we're taking shape here. We're getting somewhere. But what we need to do now is jump into another time lapse, because I am going to build this whole thing by shaping, molding, doing everything that we need to do. And then I think I'll bring you back in just when we start to detail it and just change it up a little bit. Now, second time lapse of today's episode. Let's get rolling. So with detailing, you can actually break out bits of this and make it look as though it's not supposed to be symmetrical, just by adding in varying textures and varying different styles. It is one of those things where no matter what the building is that you're doing, see what I mean? No matter what the building is that you're doing, you should always be trying to work with a multitude of different bricks. This is very stark. This is a little bit too much. So just having something like red nether brick on here, it kind of makes it feel very slapped on, like it's not really part of this world. And I think it is probably just a little bit too bulky going from here into these thinner steps there. So what I'll probably end up doing is just taking some sections away and just maybe replacing them, maybe just sort of breaking it down so that the corners are removed from it, because again, I just think that that helps to create a bit more of a slender figure down. And what I want to do is kind of have it a little bit more thinner here and then a little bit more thinner as we go up to thicken out this edge. So you get more of a curve, potentially chopping out these sections in this bit here. And it's the same with this side as well. This section, I could probably skim out all of that to meet into this bit here. And then the same as we go up there, just so that then it becomes a bit thinner at the top. I'm effectively just trying to skinify these pillars just a little bit because this is too bulky. And I just think it makes it look really weird and really top heavy. Yeah, that's probably more how I would want it to start to look. So you can see that I'm sort of trimming it down from this side here. This is what it looked like before, this is what it's going to look like afterwards. It's going to take a little while just for me to get the shape that I want it to be, but give me a few moments and we'll be right back. Okay, and we're done. We have done the two platforms. They look really good. They're very varied. They have different types of textures to them as well. And structurally speaking, they're about where I wanted them to be. So if you are approaching, say from here, you would look up, you would see this giant gilded pyramid right in the center, and then you would see this huge platform which sits right above it. So yeah, so far I'm happy about it. Now we just have to build, I think, some organic structures, and I'm thinking trees, because there's loads of trees behind me. This is basically going to be a custom tree building for those that are not used to it. What I normally tend to do is to create the first structure, which is going to be the actual tree trunk. I want these to be big trees. I want them to sort of feel like they are imposing in some ways. I really don't want to skimp out on them. So when you are building your custom trees, what you want to do is just find the center of this little space here, which I believe is here, and then decide on how big you're going to actually make the tree. I know I want this to be 4 logs in thickness. Now it has to be equal to and or bigger than the structure that it sits on in order for it to feel more balanced. For example, if we're going to go, say, all the way up there, now that would be an impressive tree because I'm going to have to make it so big in its plumage in order to make it look right. But I think it would be too big, considering that I think that a portal that may be that big might be a bit too big, but I'm not sure. Again, this could really work out for being this size. What I think I'm going to do is just take this down a little bit, and then we can focus on where everything's going to branch off. So what we can then do is create something which is going to extend up, and we can create much more of a varied branch structure. So if we wanted this to go up rather than across rather than to the side, we can do that. What you would then be able to do is to create either sections. So if you take a look at a normal tree in Minecraft, what it normally tends to do is just bunch up into one giant, almost like a balloon, if you will. What you can do with custom trees is you can almost bonsai them in some ways. And so you can have them as levels which basically float around here. Then you can have another one which would come over to this section. And then another one which would come over to this section. And then this one would probably start intermingling with the tree itself. It's up to you. I think what I want to do is to kind of have this as branched out. I want it big. I want everything going upwards. So it could be something like that, which means that everything's still going up. We're still seeing an increase in volume. And then we would have to mirror it onto this side as well. but trees are not identical, so I don't want this to feel like I've just copied and pasted this onto this section. And then finally what we need to do is to create the actual nether portal, which is going to range in this side here. I'm not going to add the leaves on before I add the nether portal, just because that way then I'm not having to add on to take away later on, which can be really frustrating. So I think what I'll do whilst I'm planning out how big the nether portal is going to be is to add some of this warp stem on the other side, and then we can get a feel for just how big this whole thing is actually going to turn out. Something like this is a really good kind of way of doing it. Not 100% sure about how far out I went with this one, but I think I could probably still make it work. I mean, we could potentially just add another one onto this one, which kind of brings it out. Again, trees are not identical. They shouldn't really be identical. This is, this is Minecraft, so whatever, but I just kind of want them to feel a bit more natural. What I'm thinking we do next is just to get the rough outline of the portal. Again, these are going to be big trees. They are going to end up having all of the leaves and everything that we've got planned down there with vines and stuff that's going to drop as well. I think, yeah, because there's enough space for you, even if you are further away. For example, if I was scaling the trees, yeah, I would see this from quite a distance and it would still look pretty looping, to be honest with you. So I think this is good. I want to create something which is basically just going to be a platform ledge, which is going to extend down from this bit to this bit. I'm not sure what to do, whether or not to do that with respawn anchors, because I think the bottom of them looks really cool. Look, it's like a mini actual portal. So if we had these running all the way across, so for example, if we started, I don't know, say here, we could run these across the bottom, and then using glowstone, they look like glowing stairs. And then as you get up to this bit, it's like you're walking on portals before you even enter into the portal. I know that this is dangerous because one single touch to this and the whole thing is going to explode, but I like it. I think it looks really cool. I think we could probably do something which is just going to bring this down into line so it's like it's being secured. I don't think we need to worry too much about the back bit. I think it's about time that we got on with actually making the tree shapes. Starting out with a basic shape of what you want this to look like is probably the hardest part, because you've got to make this look flowing. You've got to make it look natural, like the air's carrying it in a specific way. If you were to just follow the line that you have created here with what you've already got sectioned off into these bits from this wood, you can create something which feels a little bit more natural, a little bit more tree-like. So if we move away, we can see that from a basic standpoint, if you're trying to make something work by not overcrowding, so not creating what is basically going to be a round bush, what you want to do is to create this sort of shape. You're looking for it to sort of smooth into lines, and then the same with the top as well. It's almost like almondy, so you sort of have it reach an apex and then it runs back down again. These can often be seen in something like the acacia trees or something very savanna-y, which is where it's going to run into these sort of jagged points. Almost look windswept, if you will. You're trying to make it feel like it's got weight where it naturally would have weight. For example, right near the stem, right near the actual bark, it's going to have more weight. It's going to get thinner as it goes out. No tree gets thicker as it reaches the edge. The other thing that you can also do is you can add, and you're going to be so sick of me keep saying this, but you can add varying textures and varying color palettes to make this stand out. This is crimson, but there's no reason why you can't add some red wool, some pink wool, just to kind of play off of the fact that it's not necessarily going to have to be all one color. Again, the pink acts as highlights, the red acts as sort of like a background diffuser. This kind of breaks up all of what we're seeing here. And then you can also add glass into it as well. Glass, tinted glass or stained glass, is just another good way of breaking up repetitive textures. by adding highlights and also accentuating the background color with things like red glass. Cute, right? So this basically just adds this. Now, this is too much, I know, but it's just to kind of show you. If you also want to, you can try and make this look very leathery by adding in things like shroom lights. And of course, you could break up the shroom lights. You could even mask them if you wanted to with the glass that you've got here. And it's just going to stop the light from being so harsh that it comes through too much. But it's also just going to blend it in nicely with the rest of the tree. This is going to take me another while, and again, I want to bring you back in once it's all done and we've got the entire trees finished. So then all we have to do is just finish our little nether portal. So I am going to jump you back into another time lapse. This will be the third one, and it will be the final one for the day. I promise. And then once we're done, we will be able to see this whole thing in its full glory. Until then, I am going to be right back. See you in a minute. It's done. Are you ready? Steady? Ta-da! It looks so good. It looks literally just the way that I thought it was going to. You've got everything. Now I've switched up the shroom lights into frog lights, the green ones, the verdant ones. And I think they just look really cool. And because you can't have these, unfortunately, scaled down from the tree, I've decided to switch out for glowberries instead. But, you know, it is what it is. Now, let's take a little tour, shall we, from the very beginning. If you are coming into here from practically anywhere, this thing is very imposing. I've decided to go with a more sort of ornate style within the portal itself. And then I've also added in tinted glass, and then also some pink and some purple and some magenta as well, just to kind of break up the monotony of the actual purple itself and just give, again, a bit of depth, which I'm sick of saying at this point, but you guys know what I mean. So as we make our approach, I replaced out the campfires and I've changed it for these, which are basically just some redstone lamps. We have our little pigling is it snout banner? Yeah, that's it, the snout banner. And we've added in the actual nether colours as well. It just looks really cool. It looks like something that this would have been a fortress at some point, or something like a grand entrance for people to have made their way. And so as we make our way across the carpets here, you would go up the pyramid and you would follow the blue lights up until you get to this, which is the respawn anchors. And I've just added in some of the trapdoors as well, just to kind of give a bit of a colour scheme, but I think they look really good. They sort of add something to this, which you don't often see. It just makes them look like lit up stairs. So cool. And of course, as we make our way around, you have the two trees, the crimson and the warped as well. We've just sort of put some stuff around here, some mushrooms, some trapdoors, some lights as well, just to, you know, get it where we want it to be. And then of course, we've kind of built in these sort of platforms which stretch up. It's got kind obsidian and normal obsidian, just to sort of, again, connect this to this. Otherwise, it just looks like it's floating, which I don't mind, but I just think it looks a bit weird in this context. It kind of has to all gel together. I really like how the red tree came out. I think it looks really cool. You can see it sweeping over to one side, and then the blue one just hangs in more of a odder position. Again, it's more balloony across the bottom here, but the branches do stick out from side to side. And then as we look at it from the top as well, you can see that they basically go off in these tiny little peaks, just the way that I kind of wanted them to. And even from the back, this whole thing doesn't look too bad. I could probably do with adding glass to the back of it here, but I don't really think it's necessary. I have added trapdoors, I've added lights, I've sort of shaped it all up, I've bone mealed the ground. But I think it looks pretty good, even if you can see, there's the first one, you can see even from here that this would stand out from anywhere. And I think that whilst I know that this is definitely not going to be possible for Minecraft developers to have generate in the world, I do think that it just adds something. That's where you want to explore. That's where you want to go searching for things. But you guys, I have run out of time and I have run out of building ability for today. But I would also like to thank you all for watching, and I really want to know your thoughts. What should be the next thing that I make over in this world? Should it be that village right behind us there? I'll let you decide. Pop it in the comment section, guys, of this video. Also, whilst you're there, why don't you leave me a like and make sure to subscribe as well, because I need all the help I can get. I'm definitely not building these giant builds just for the fun of it. No, actually, maybe I am. And my name is Buster UV. I have had an amazing time transforming this for you today and give you a little bit of inspiration and some tips and tricks. I will be back again next week where we do another transformation. I shall see you then, you guys. Thank you very much for watching. See you all next week. Bye. Bye bye bye.